So we've got John Henry here from the North Carolina Wildlife. And so I'm going to read you his bio. He's a North Carolina native, raised in the rural North Piedmont area. He attended NC State University for his undergraduate and Louisiana State University for his master's, both in wildlife management. He's been a professional biologist for 16 years, split between Southern Louisiana and North Carolina, and is currently a District 4 wildlife biologist for the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission. Harrelson resides in Cumberland County with his wife Katie and two daughters, Lily and Magnolia. I give the floor to you.
Well, thank y'all for having me out. Like she said, my name is John Henry Harrelson. I'm a district wildlife biologist with the Wildlife Commission. And my role here tonight is to talk about deer biology and then deer options for management in your community. And you're going to see real quick, it is a community issue. So it's a community decision on what you do. I'm just laying out the options that are available based off sound science, and then also a program or programs that are available through our agency. So in case you didn't know, North Carolina's growing pretty exponentially. We're one of the fastest growing states in the nation. Brunswick County is in the top 10 counties in the nation, #1 in the state. So I like to ask, how many people are from North Carolina originally here? Wow, man, I'm gonna tell you, y'all blow my rooms out of the water normally. I mean, I talk to groups of hundreds of people, and there'll be 2 or 3 people from North Carolina in that whole room. So good on y'all. It's not all outsiders. So not everybody then moves here from somewhere else. There's a lot of, let's say, quasi-local people here. And y'all know this is where you live at on a much smaller scale. And then we can put that over that, which is essentially your community outline, which is pretty surprising. 568 lots is what's on that map there, with like 7 lakes and then the river as well. So I came here probably almost 10 years ago and gave a similar presentation at this same facility, not without this screen. And we talked about this same exact program. And your community was the first community in the state to enroll in that program. And y'all have since lapsed, and we're going to talk about that same thing tonight. So just like Brunswick County has a high people population, we actually don't have that many deer here in the grand scheme of things. If you look at it across the state, you know, red is the hotter colors, the more deer you have. So we really pale in comparison to the Piedmont. So good on us for that, or we'd be talking about a real problem. But localized, we can have high concentrations of deer, and obviously that's what you have in your community. We've seen one walk. We saw a mom and a baby walk by just while we were here. I mean, y'all had a problem 10 years ago. I can't imagine much has changed if there hasn't been a lot of harvests occurring. And we'll talk about why. So one of the reasons we have issues is increased car accidents. I heard about a fawn getting hit. Even if you just have your deductible, I mean, $500 or $1,000, I mean, who wants to deal with that? And that's in your neighborhood, not out on the road, you know, like where you're going 55. That's in your neighborhood. You hit a fawn or a deer, and it's, you know, that starts adding up. You have interactions with human trash like this. This is a picture from Georgia, but like right now in Newburgh, we're dealing with the issue with a PVC on the foot that a biologist has spent like 2 days trying to get that thing off of there. And then for y'all, what I've heard a lot about is this issue right here with deer eating high-end plants that you spent money on and you don't want them to consume. Those are all people issues that we have with the wildlife. The wildlife issues when you have too many deer are this, you know, common deer diseases. The one that everybody is so scared about, or we hear a lot about, is CWD, chronic wasting disease. We actually have chronic wasting disease in our state. We have it in 3 places. The closest place is in Fayetteville. So I actually live right by this. This is right where I work at. You guys are a long ways away from chronic wasting disease. So that should not be an issue whatsoever. The real issue you should be thinking about is, if you care about the deer, is starvation and abandonment. So at some point we're gonna talk about carrying capacity in a minute. At some point you're gonna get so high that they can't feed themselves. And when mamas can't take care of themselves, mamas abandon their babies. And then you find little starving fawns in your flower beds versus following behind their mamas. And that's really when stuff starts kind of hitting home. It's not that they're all going to up and die immediately, but that's coming. So let's talk about a little bit about deer biology, because we're going to keep it simple. So y'all know the rut happens in October, the end of October, 1st of November here, 200-day gestation period. So come, 1st of May, roughly into June, you have your babies. That's when peak babies are born. Females have their first when they're potentially a year and a half old. And after a year and a half old, from then on, every year they'll have 2 or 3 babies. So once she gets to 2.5 years old, she's replaced herself. So start thinking about that. There's no predators in your community. They have a high success rate. Pretty quickly, you're replacing yourself over and over again. And this is off of TikTok. Oh, it's finally fawn season in my neighborhood. And I mean, this thing had millions of views. This little video right here was crazy. Just this little fawn right there up next to that fence looking all cute. Millions of views on TikTok. And people just eat it up. And I'm sure there's people in this room that's very pretty to. I don't know. That's very cute. That's part of it. And it's cool that you get to live with nature. But there's also like a management you have to go about it. And talking about manager, what's the best deer manager? You guys probably may not appreciate this, but this guy, yeah, that guy, not necessarily this guy. That's like when you type in hunter with a deer on Google Images, this is like in the top 5, which is pretty classic. It's pretty funny to me because that's not what I think of as a hunter. I mean, I'm a hunter. That's not what I dress like. But like really, this right here is your best deer manager, which is using honey or using your trigger finger. That's how you remove deer. We did some just talking about it here. She said, I went to LSU for my master's degree. Part of my project was I collared deer. So put radio collars on them and followed them around in a big pine plantation forest, like 10,000 acres, big hunt club. So after a deer got to a year and a half, so we won't count it making past the fawn, which if you look at fawn survivorship in the wild, it can be 50 to 80% mortality rate. So that's 20 to 50% survivorship rate. Okay. So once you get past that, then it's like a coin flip every year whether the deer is going to survive because they get shot by hunters. Okay. Here, you take away that coin flip. So you take away 50% of mortality. If you look at that second number, 33% reduction to maintain population. So if you take an average deer herd, you can remove 1/3 of them every year and you will keep the same number. That's 1/3 of the antlerless population. We're not talking about bucks. We're talking about antlerless does and fawns. You can remove 1/3 of them every year and you will have a stable population. That is what we tell hunt clubs all across the country, all across our state. I can go to your property without even looking at it and they're like, how many deer should I shoot? You should probably shoot 1/3 of them if you want to maintain what you got. If you want to decrease, you should shoot more. If you want to increase, you should shoot less. You obviously probably don't want to increase your deer population and you don't have any harvest right now. So any harvest is going to start bringing that number down. We talked about, I mentioned this word a minute ago, carrying capacity. And then when you Google carrying capacity, some little fancy charts, and this is kind of what I was talking about. If you look here, you start at red is what you need to keep the population going every year. And then, you have babies, you have this big surplus, you have a die-off, and then you're stuck back at the red. These are the reasons you die off: starvation, disease, parasites, accidents, hunger. Well, we can pretty much eliminate this. We can eliminate weather. We don't have very big disease or parasite issues. You don't have starvation because they're eating all the bushes in your yard. So you got car accidents. About the only thing killing a fawn or a coyote, occasional coyote or a bobcat if he gets a fawn, or maybe a bear, but I mean, you don't have many bears out here on this part of the county. So you ain't got much taking care of your deer other than, well, nobody. That's why you have so many. So just put that in perspective. There's, as a biologist, we treat it as a surplus. And if you look here, this is kind of like, it's called carrying capacity. As your deer numbers go up, the quality of your plants go down. And there's this seasonal up and down movement. There's this up and down movement that you got to kind of live with. And you see right there where the habitat damage occurs. And this is like out in the woods. This isn't even talking about in your yard. So you can imagine that that number is going to be go up pretty quickly. I want to talk about year carrying capacity, because that's what we're referring to, this number of deer that you can have in your neighborhood. I'm gonna be honest, you guys are right here. So if you're not at the biological carrying capacity, you can have more deer in your neighborhood biologically. I mean, you don't have fawns starving to death. You don't have adult moms out there that are just nothing but skin and bones. You don't have that. What you do have is, man, by as many deer as you in the community can handle, and probably a few more than you can handle. And that's why we're at like this cultural carrying capacity. And that's why I said earlier that it's a community issue, not a biological or science issue. Because if you ask me how many deer you should shoot or how many deer can you take, it's really up to you. Do you want to see less? Well, then we should start with a number and we can go up or down depending on how many the neighborhood feels like. There's really nothing set in stone on this, because you don't have a disease outbreak that's wiping out your herd, where science or our agency needs to come in and tell you we need to shoot more deer. You don't see dramatic hair loss. You're not seeing animals that are sick and staggering around and dying in your ponds. You know, those are all things that can happen over population. We don't see that. So it's really a community issue. It's a cultural issue. So we got a couple options. Number one, we can do nothing, which is what we're doing right now. So you can keep having browse lines. I'm sure you walk through your neighborhood, you can look through those lots. If you mow underneath those trees, you can see for forever. It's right about the height that deer can reach. If you notice, it's right about the height that deer can reach on its back legs. That's because they're eating all the browse. You can keep spending money on netting and just understand that you're going to keep having the issues you have. Option number two, you can hire people to come in your community and remove the deer professionally. Okay, this is kind of a comical picture, but realistically, what actually happens is you have people come in your neighborhood that you hired that use suppressed rifles with thermal scopes that head shoot the deer at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and remove them, and you see maybe a blood splatter in your yard the next morning, and you maybe heard the truck, roll by, but that's about it. Very, very efficient. I mean, just be honest, gunfire, a rifle is very efficient compared to archery equipment. Looking at rate of return, shooting something with a rifle, a lot higher probability of killing it than it is with an archer or, with bow and arrow. There's some people don't like that. Some people don't like the idea of having a sharpshoot team come in your community. You can do this any time of the year. We could issue your community a depredation permit, which we issue to farmers and other communities to alleviate deer issues, and they could come in and remove the deer right now if it's that big of an issue. Okay. Some communities go this way. Typically, it's got to be a pretty bad issue to go this route. And usually at a bigger scale. I'll tell you, like, for instance, St. James, the community of St. James used to do this for 10 or 15 years. They've given it up because they got their deer population under control, but for a long time, this is the route they took. They had two police officers pretty much on staff that what they rode around and shot deer at night for in their community. So option 3, sterilization. Well, that's might as well be throwing money out the window and setting it on fire, but we're not even going to talk about it because we're not even a place to work. So I wanted to bring it up because I'm sure it makes somebody say, well, can't we just catch them and make them where they can't have babies? You don't live in a closed population. You have deer coming in, deer going out. I mean, we didn't even talk about deer dispersing and then deer moving in here. Like, there's a constant ingress and egress of deer that you don't even realize has occurred. So that's why I said this is not even an option. So my option that I bring to you that our agency has is called a Community Deer Management Assistance Program, or CDMAP. because we got a lot of DMAPs in my agency because we got a lot of deer issues. If you noticed, I probably glazed over it in that first, I think the second slide. We got about 1 million to 1.3 million deer in our state. At one time, we had just like tens of that, like 10,000, less than that. So having whitetails where they are is, if that's my phone, I'm sorry. Okay, I was like, I thought I turned it on, but I got that same ring, man, on the ring camera. Yeah, I was like, man, my kids are on my back playing basketball from the camera. They know I'm busy. You know, I lost my train of thought there. It's a community program, okay? So we remove deer, like, 1.3 million deer. Yeah, we got a lot of deer. It's actually a success story that we brought deer back. If you talk to people that grew up hunting in like the 70s and 80s, there was no deer in the Piedmont. And now you look at that middle and it is eat up with deer. Actually on the coast, if you go back to like the early 90s, we were the hot spot. Like if you look at Brunswick County, Columbus, back in the early 90s, man, we had the highest deer density of anywhere in the state. Agriculture really played a big part in that. That's changed. But the community program, so it's free. So there's no charge for this program that we're offering because it's a state agency. There used to be a charge associated with it. There is no more. What we do is redistribute either sex tax to your community. So this is talking about harvest now. Let's just go ahead and get that out front. I'm talking about removing deer through hunting. We're not talking about sharpshooting. I'm not talking about any other aspect. This program is talking about removing deer through hunting, the other option. It allows these people to extend the season earlier and after the normal season. So you can start hunting in by the middle of August, and if we wanted to, we could extend hunting season into March to reach your goals. The good thing about it is you as a community or you as a homeowner get to decide who hunts, where they hunt, and essentially how they hunt. Because our agency, all we do is give you tags. That's our role in this program. I can give you as many tags as you would like to alleviate your problem. There is no science base because like I told you, it's a cultural issue. It's not a science issue at this point. Okay, so some of the things you should consider, whether you want archery hunting only, which is what you guys had in the past, your community and lots of communities coordinate with the North Carolina Bow Hunters Association to use bow hunters. So you have to be part of this program that they have. You have to pass an accuracy test. It's not that hard, but you got to pass an accuracy test. You got to be, you can't have a criminal background. They do a little bit of work on you, so you're not just like some Joe Blow coming off the street. And in fact, not too many people participate in the program, so they're always looking for more archery folks to come in and participate because there's multiple communities in Brunswick County that use this program. Or you can have rifle hunters. And I don't know, are y'all in city limits? So there would be no ordinance to stop you from discharging a firearm, is there, in your community? Okay, so just so you know, if you think, oh man, I would hate to be hearing people shoot gunshots now throughout the woods. If you are wearing suppressors on particularly on low recoil rounds, as part of my job, I have to euthanize animals. I shoot stuff in people's backyards, and their neighbors are outside and have no idea I've used a firearm. So I mean, I've shot stuff in my backyard, and my neighbor be in their pool, and they have no idea I'm outside using a firearm. So it's not what it always once was, which is a big loud bang. There can be options there. Now, granted, that's a big thing for the community. I'm gonna be honest. Allow people to use a rifle would be a big deal in your community. That's why most people use archery. And we can go to the pros and cons if y'all want to. You got most archery equipment, you're limited to 50 yards, even with a crossbow, max. So that arrow is only going so far. But you have a lower recovery rate. The likelihood of me shooting a deer with a rifle and then getting away is pretty slim. The likelihood of me shooting a deer with a bow, I think recovery rate's about 75%. So you run the risk of maybe finding the deer dead in your yard that a hunter could not find. Now, granted, that's easily solvable because you can reach out to the hunters and say, hey, did anybody lose this deer? I found it. Please come and retrieve it. And I'm sure they're going to be real happy to come and get that for you. Because I know I would if I was in this community taking advantage of this program. I mean, in the past, some of my communities have allowed community members to do the hunting. It's really up to what the community decides. The Bow Hunters Association kind of stepped in 10, 12 years ago and started, but that's up to them. I mean, it's up to you, really, how y'all want to proceed. The other thing that's going to be a hot bake topic is, you know, how much, where you want to put it out. And the reason I say that is one of the things you're going to talk about, and this is Onyx version of your community, those are all lots, is deciding where you want people to hunt at. Because not everyone's going to want someone to hunt right next to them. Not everyone, I mean, there are vacant lots in the neighborhood that, or undeveloped lots in the neighborhood, or more rural or you know, secluded areas of the neighborhood that can be utilized for the program more than other areas. It's really up to y'all and what y'all are willing to tolerate and what you're willing to do. Because the other option is if you don't tolerate the hunters being in your neighborhood, then you're going to tolerate the deer being in your neighborhood. And it's a balance. And right now, there's been calls saying we want something done. So that's why we're here. So I would be glad to answer any questions. This is what I do the majority of the year is catch alligators. Yeah, I've been here for alligators before. Yeah, for sure. The guy who used to be the president was named John, like 7, 8 years ago. They might have been here that long. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. My man had there in the back.
Just one of the many.
Yeah, one of the meeting. Well, that's who I just. But I can answer any questions or help facilitate a community discussion.
Could be a lot of questions. Could you, before you do that, could you just quickly go back over option 3 if you were to like highlight what the differences are? Because it's sounding a lot the same by the time we were talking about option 4. Could you do that?
Well, option 3 is throwing money out the window.
No, I'm sorry,
Oh, option 2, professional assistance. Yes, okay. So the difference between this and the community program, this would be something where you would hire a team of sharpshooters to come in and remove these deer using suppressed rifles, likely at night while you're not even awake. The other option, this option, the community program is hunters coming out and doing it during a set season. So usually we talk about extending the season, but it would still be in the fall and winter time when they would be, historical hunting season when they would be utilizing it. And then it's up to you guys about what y'all wanted to use. But like I said, most communities have chosen archery equipment just for the fear of having issues with rifles.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do they hire, when they do this option 4, is it at night too?
Oh, no. These are, you got to follow all the legal rules of hunting. So you have to wear blaze orange. If you're using a firearm, you guys could dictate they be from an elevated stand. You could dictate they could only hunt out of a ground blind. You could dictate they could only hunt on this lot right here, and you can only hunt on Saturday afternoon, and you can only park at this spot. I have some communities in the past when we set this up, we went through a map like this right here, and they had it color coded. These are the lots you can hunt. These are the parking spots. These are the people you call and let know when you're coming in the community to hunt. So we can post and let everybody know that, yes, that vehicle parked down there is not somebody just, pilfering around. They got business down here. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Has to approve that being done.
What'd you say?
How much the community has to approve
That's
that being done?
your HOA board would be the one who would apply to this, who would apply to our agency for this. Yes, ma'am.
You said something about handing out tags. What's that about?
So so in our state, when you buy your hunting license, you get 6 tags. You get 6 deer you can harvest. In our state, you can harvest 4 antlerless and 2 antlered bucks. This program gives tags that do not count towards your original tags. So this allows a hunter who wants to hunt on his hunt club or wants to hunt on his normal property somewhere else, and then comes here and uses your community tags. As you know, it's kind of a trade-off. The community is removing deer, and the guy gets an extra opportunity to hunt.
And if, like, are they, do we dictate that they also remove the deer, or is that just?
Oh, they're gonna remove the deer. The whole point of this will be shooting it, yeah. Yeah, and you can work it out. I mean, if you guys wanted to set this thing up where they donate a certain amount of deer, or hey, we want you to get, I mean, there's a processor that's in Regalwood that has a 501c3 where they donate deer meat to needy folks. Like, hey, we want to give out of every 5 deer shot in the community, we want one to be donated and, you know, processed for, you know, community development or whatever. That's all something you can work out with those people. Like I said, our agency involvement is to offer guidance on what to do and how to set it up. But then it's up to the community and whoever you get to come in here to hunt, if you follow through with this, to, you know, make sure it all works out. Yes. Oh, okay.
What do they do with the deer?
So yeah, hopefully they're gonna take it home and eat it. That would be the whole point of doing this during hunting season. Now, the other option, we talked about the sharpshooting option. Depending upon the time of year they do that, and then the quality of the people you hire, and you could also dictate they donate that meat, but a lot of times they don't necessarily get donated. So recently, I'll just tell you, Baldhead Island removed almost like about 150 deer off the island in February. And they did it in the course of about 5 nights. And they had those deer, every one of those deer were donated. That was part of the process there. Yeah.
Excuse me, I think the deer are killed outside this community when they go in and out on other areas.
We have no way to dictate that or track that, or ingress and egress obviously occurs. There's probably harvest that occurs in other communities right off the edge of you. You'd be probably surprised that there's probably harvest that occurs within your community that you're not aware of already. So, I mean, if you can be real slick and shoot a deer, I want to be honest.
Outside.
So, yeah. Go ahead.
If you go to the surrounding areas of the current parks, one has state parks, all here.
Not that's really close to you, not that would dictate you. No, I think in dictate would be like a mile, and there's not any big communities that are harvesting within a mile that I'm aware of. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any idea what the actual population of the deer is?
In your community?
Absolutely.
No, ma'am. So I can tell you, again, I am not here to offer you a science answer, like you have this number of deer and you should have this number of deer. To do that, well, you can go about it a couple of different ways. If you really wanted to start a population survey, a spotlight count would be an easy number. That's something you could do before and after. You could figure out how many bucks, does, spawns you have. And you could say, oh, maybe we do need to remove some deer because when we did the spotlight survey, we counted 56 deer in our community. And the average deer per square mile in Brunswick County is 10 to 15. So how big is your community? How big is your community?
You also have options for people to protect their plants.
Yes, 100%. Do I have options?
Just for options.
I think there's netting. I mean, if I don't, that's not something I would encourage you to reach out to the Cooperative Extension Service. They focus and really keen in on those things. Unfortunately, that's not something in my expertise. So netting seems to be, well, actually netting doesn't seem to be working based off what some people have told me. I take it you're pretty opposed to the option. And unfortunately, and then so it takes all kinds. And I don't want you to think that I'm sitting here telling you that you should shoot every deer in your neighborhood.
No, I'm saying that, just saying, with the ability of all these new homes, the development next door has pushed the populations in closer to eat more people's plants. But people need to protect their plants and not just scream and holler, they are eating my plants.
There are. My past, man. He is a representative.
Yeah. What you know.
Yeah.
So, it's not, it's straight outside.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of all out of control, people who could be coming in.
Yeah.
Right, it's down one, right, absolutely, that's community.
Yep.
And, you know, fire safety should be.
That's why the majority of communities have chosen to use bow hunters. They've chosen to use the Bow Hunters Association that has a program already set up where you have to join their program and pass that accuracy test, and there's some background checks in there. I'm gonna tell you from meeting with folks, it's like 3 old guys that came out that were using the program in the past. I'm not sure who's really honing in on it now. But it's not some bloodthirsty renegade gonna be coming in. It's probably gonna be an older guy who's got a lot of time on his hands and going to shoot more deer. And, you know, this is what he seems as a good hobby and a good way to give back. And he's probably gonna donate a lot of it because that's what typically happens, because they probably already killed a couple during the regular hunting season. So, yes, sir.
Well, the populations decrease if people stop feeding them. Amen.
Okay, artificial feeding.
Yeah.
Nothing but cons in my view. As a scientist, now hold on, I will tell you, as a scientist, wildlife has lived without us intervening for millions of years. We've only been on this earth for a short period of time. Nothing influences the other landscapes. We're the only animal that influences our landscapes the way we do. What beavers, but really humans are number one. They're gonna be just fine if you don't feed them. They're gonna eat more of your plants. But when you feed them, what you're doing is you're giving them high quality foods. Because a lot of times people are giving them bird seed. That's something like people like to put out, or corn. Bird seed is like one of the best things you can feed them. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, high in fat, good quality, really makes their coat slick. But that means they have more babies. Because when mama's in better shape, instead of having 2 babies, she has 3. And that means then she raises all 3. And when she's in good shape, so hold on, listen, when she's in good shape, when they disperse, so at about a year old, mama kicks the babies out. The little bucks, she makes all the little bucks leave. And a lot of times, if she is in poor quality, she makes her fawns leave, or her doe fawns leave as well. Well, if she's in really good shape and the landscape has lots of food on the land, like lots of food available, she doesn't make her doe fawns leave. They end up staying right there with mama and continue to form the herd and make a bigger doe group. On top of that, physiologically, when things are good, she has more doe fawns than she has buck fawns. Because when things are bad, she knows her bucks. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you look at the numbers, it's not like she's making a decision. Her body's doing it for her. Because when things are bad, her body's in worse body condition when she's pregnant, and she tends to have more bucks. Bucks leave. They're not going to eat the food off of her table, out of her mouth. And that's all. I mean, you're not telling each other that. That's just what happens across the board. So, yes, sir. Go ahead. You got your hand up.
Question: is there a program existing or would be made where the deer tranquilized and transferred to a lower density area?
There's not anywhere really that wants to eat deer. Not that. Well, no, that's not right. That's not. There's lots of places that want to eat deer. There's not many places that want more deer. I'll tell you the effort it would take to do that. So drugs. So as a biologist, I got a dart gun. Dart gun costs about $1,500. Okay, the drugs. Every time I would use those drugs, we'd say per deer, we're looking at about $150 for me just to put it on the ground, like just for me to knock it out. Then we have to pay someone to take care of it while we're transporting it. And then when we turn them loose. So a few years ago, we took a bunch of deer that were on Mara Mountain State Park. If you've ever been in the Piedmont, you go there, it's this beautiful state park, and there's tons of deer. I mean, you can see deer everywhere where you could 10 or 15 years ago. We went and tranquilized a bunch and drove them to Cherokee. The Native American tribe there were wanting more deer to put back on the reservation. So we gave them like 70 deer. I can't tell you how many made it, but it wasn't very many out of that 70. When they got there, there was lots of issues with waking up from being anesthetized for 4 or 5 hours under that drug. And then you wake up in a strange place in a fence because they put them in a containment area So they would try to stay there, because when you take a wild animal somewhere and turn it loose, it tries to come back home. You know, you can do that with an alligator. That's why we don't move alligators hardly anymore, because alligators are going to try to come back. And I tell people, if I took you 20 miles from home and dropped you out with no car, no phone, what you gonna do? You gonna figure out how to get home. It may take you 2 days, but you gonna figure it out, right? That animal's gonna do the same thing. It's gonna want to try to return if it doesn't have like a set, you know, a fixation on this area. So they just don't do well when you go and do that with big herbivores like that. Plus, we got deer everywhere. We got deer everywhere. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, there's a lot of questions. I'm stuck right here, the lady right in front of him.
If we don't know how many deer we have, then how do we know how many we should shoot? Because there's obviously people in the room that care about deer and want to help deer population.
So I would start with a reasonable number. Like in my mind, I would probably issue your community 20 tags to start with. I think you're gonna have a hard time filling 20 tags with a hunter. Once you get a hunter out here and start, I think you're gonna realize they're not gonna be as successful as you think. It's not gonna be easy as you think, because the deer right now are real used to people. They ain't scared of nobody. Let's be honest, you know, you can walk out in your yard, you can almost touch them. Well, the first time they see their mama die, and then they realize, hey, I smelled people right before that, and we were eating corn right before that, and I smelled people, and then I watched my mom died, and then my sister died too. Man, maybe I should be more scared of people. That's why when you go in the woods, you don't have deer come over to you. This is because there's a natural fear. It's a predator-prey relationship. And right now, there is no predator. We have taken ourselves out of that situation. We removed ourselves from it. And now they've lost their fear of people. That's why alligators in neighborhoods are so friendly. I mean, you know, it's nothing but good behavior, nothing but good interactions. And they get fed. The same thing with the deer. If I got fed every day and nothing ever hurt me, you know, it's like the squirrel in the park. You give it peanuts every day, you give it peanuts every day. That thing almost lets you touch it, but the first time you go to grab it, it's gonna eat you up. Same thing with that deer. You know, it's still a wild animal. It's just letting you get used to it, habituated to you.
So I heard like 20 deer.
Sure. Actually, I would leave it up to you. Leave it up to the community. If they want to see 10 removed, if you wanted to see 50 removed, it's not going to change the deer population of Brunswick County and the deer population of the state. But it will solve how you feel, or it may hurt feelings. And that's why it's a community issue. And it makes it real hard when our agency gets involved, because if it was one big tract of land, like if you were a hunt club and you owned 1,000 acres, well, we're out here to manage deer. That's what we're here for. It's pretty easy to set up what we're going to do. We're going to shoot some deer. You guys have, how big is your community? 500, 600 acres? Okay, 500 acres. So on a hunt club, I would tell you, I would start with saying on 500 acres, I would tell you to start shooting with 10 deer, would be my first assessment. But I think your deer density is going to be higher. Yes, ma'am.
So, but the deer that are being, say there are 50 deer that live here, we shoot 10 of them. Well, there's still 30 deer eating plants. And shooting 10 deer doesn't necessarily solve the.
No, next year you're gonna have to shoot 10 or 15 more. Yeah, next year you're gonna have to shoot 10 or 15 more. That number I mentioned is 33%. If you don't remove 33%, you're gonna have an increase in deer. And that's pretty stable science across the southeast.
There's probably 200 deer.
So you guys could do, you know, you could come up with an informal spotlight survey where you could have someone ride through your neighborhood and count the deer in one evening without backtracking, and it'd be pretty easy to figure out just a reasonable estimate of the number of deer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mhm.
It's not gonna fix
No,
people's problems with the rest of the deer, damaging their vegetation. You go in there and they bring, you say we got 100 deer, you kill a 25 or 75 deer here, go down, you put this vegetation. That's not gonna stop it.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking herd management.
Yes, sir.
Or anything else.
Well, you're hoping to remove enough that they go back to eating and focusing more on native browse
So the.
versus what you have in your community.
This area, go in and out. There's no-
Well, I mean, that's natural influx. That's gonna occur anyway.
Right.
I'll tell you, having 200 deer on 500 acres, that's pretty astronomical if that's the number. You know what I'm saying? We'll say, how about this? We'll say 100 deer on 500 acres. We'll half what that said because that sounded high. Go 100 deer on 500 acres. That's still pretty high. I can tell you if I was on the hunt club on 500 acres and had 100 deer, man, I'd be like, boys, we are locked up, son. We are stacked. I'd be excited. I'd be like, this is great. We're gonna have high success rates. Like my kids are gonna be able to shoot some does. Yes.
But I don't want the impression that this is gonna fix the problem.
No.
So
So part of it,
flowers in your lush vegetation, your yard, whatever the case may be, that's not gonna.
yeah. So the hope is to remove it from years, like where you are from here, and for any kind of year where it's oscillating. Because that's what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna have yearly fluctuations anyway. You're gonna have good years and bad years based on how mammals produce. I mean, and like, if things weren't so lush and green here because we didn't irrigate, we had a harsh drought. Like you look in the woods, we're gonna have a poor year in the woods for fawn production because we had such a harsh drought. Mammals aren't able to eat as good a quality food as they are because the plants aren't as succulent as they naturally are. So her milk is not as good for as a fawn and a typically is. That doesn't occur in your neighborhood. So you don't have these other outside forces. Yes, you are going to continue to have deer in your neighborhood. I can tell you right now, it would take a large scale swipe across the board and remove a bunch of deer to see a dramatic impact. I mean, you just heard me say Bald Head Island removed 150 deer. That was half that deer population based off their estimate. Yes,
Next, just one more quick question.
sure.
How far does your travel average day?
So a home range of an adult female, and this is about 500 acres, and that's a yearly home range. Of a male is about 1,500 acres, and they have excursions where they go out and visit other doe groups where they can go 5 or 10 miles away. A buck can during the rut. But like right now, a doe can live on 15 or 20 acres because food quality should be good, and water is a big limiting factor, and then she has her fawn with her. So she's only moving so far.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
What's that question? I bought this new and just like trying to do this work, I had to stop. Because several deer, blood like they were being chased by something. You have children in this community, you have bicycles, scooters, wall carts. It's just a matter of time. Somebody's gonna get hurt or bad. It's gonna be a big problem. It's not just vegetation, it's safety of the community. You posted a car,
Yeah.
but there's children on bikes in this.
Yes, sir.
Are there any issues with disease and buzzwords? And we have to be worried about that.
So tick-borne diseases that you commonly find in North Carolina are Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And then there's a couple other ones. The one that causes the red meat allergy, that is also in North Carolina. It's the reason not to be believed to be in Brunswick County because it's found that, I think it was the Lone Star tick. So we have that tick here. I can tell you Rocky Mountain spotted fever is for sure here because I've had Rocky Mountain spotted fever since I've been a biologist in North Carolina. So I mean, more deer in your neighborhood, there are higher tick load for sure. And I don't know if y'all see that already or if you've experienced that in your community or experienced it in your yards. But that could be something that does eventually occur here for sure. I mean, you look at some northern states, ticks kill wildlife, like kill moose in the summertime. They get so many, Yes, sir.
Let's talk about number two, hiring hunters.
is the use of subsonic ammo an option?
Sure. With suppressors,
Should we require that?
sure. I mean, that's between, and I want to make sure you said hunters there. We're not talking about hunters. We're talking about a professional
Correct.
organization that removes deer.
Yes.
We're not talking about a hunter who's out here with his Joe Blow rifle. This guy's likely gonna have $10,000 in his piece of equipment that he's using.
So, in the likelihood, we would hear about us.
I'm not saying you wouldn't hear any, but what I would tell you is likely what would occur is they would tell everyone like, hey, tonight we are performing this exercise. We encourage everyone to walk your dogs before 10, stay inside tonight. You may hear,
Be substantial, that's,
oh, yeah, yeah,
that's fine.
for sure. Yeah, and with the suppressors and, shooting down. A lot of times what these guys use now, I mean, we rode with one in Robinson County last year because I wanted to see what it was, how big of an issue it was. And we were riding in a $60,000 UTV, wearing a helmet that had $10,000 flare unit on it, and we never had a flashlight out all night, and we killed 10 deer in about 45 minutes, riding around in that thing, and it was insane. I mean, they're looking with night vision and FLIR the whole time and thermal and using their rifles. And if you're outside, you blast the one, yes, you can hear it. I mean, it's not completely quiet, but it's not like you're inside your home and it's rattling windows on that.
Regarding option number two, again, can you touch on regulations of North Carolina for lawn waste?
So number two, depending upon, you would get a depredation permit and, from our agency to carry out number two, which is be hiring someone. Under that, there is no, requirement to, retreat. There's no requirement to use the animal whatsoever. In number four, there is a requirement to do due diligence to recover the animal and use the animal.
Under that number 4, if you issue 20 tags, that's for 20 different hunters, right?
No, sir. That would be to the community. You decide if you want one hunter to come in and kill 20 deer, if you want 2 people, if you wanted 10 people. So if you had somebody in your community that was already a deer hunter and they were like, man, or there's 2 or 3, we can solve this problem for y'all. Give us the opportunity. Let us do this before we ship it out, before we give it to someone else. Because if I lived here, that's what I would be saying. I'd be saying that in this meeting tonight. I mean, you can limit it that. That's why those tags are given to the community, actually to the HOA, and it'd be up to them to hand them out. And they are physical tags. So right now in North Carolina, everything is digital. So like an average, my hunting license on my phone, when I kill a deer, I hit a button, it reports it, it sends a number, I type in a few things and I'm good. This, they actually have a physical tag where they have to put it on the animal. And so it's a little different, because they're extra tags. Yes, ma'am.
Is this a community decision whether to hire people, or is it a property owner's decision?
I think it would be a community decision all the way around, because if you're gonna pay someone to shoot on your property, I mean, you're shooting on your 1/2 acre or 1 acre. You're only shooting what's there. Really, if you want to eliminate deer or not eliminate deer, if you want to limit the number of deer in your community, you want to do it throughout your community, where they are. So I can tell you, number 2 won't eliminate everything, and number 4 surely will not eliminate the deer in your community. You will always have deer here.
You said like hiring a professional that done that, and I'm what do they charge? What kind of,
No idea.
so where would this BC?
I can give you, 1 or 2 options that I'm aware of, that you can start looking around. Like I said, in previous years, we've had people in St. James, they hired 2 police officers. They had 2 police officers that worked in their that lived in their neighborhood, and they hired those 2 guys to come and do that.
I mean, like I said, they had $60,000 UPP, $10,000.
Those guys, they do it for a living. They do it for a living. They shoot hundreds of deer, in a summertime. So for them, that's a little bit different. And I'm not sure those guys would travel all the way down here, because they were in Robinson and Hope County where we were working at. But it would be, we could help you find someone. I promise you, when you start putting money out there, People show up. Yes, ma'am.
You talked about the bird feed earlier and
Mhm.
relate to any other foods as well and.
What do people like to feed the deer?
My other question, people, if they're being fed, do they stay food served or will they still water like you said earlier?
So deer are gonna move from security cover to food regardless. It just depends on how close the security cover is. So during the day, they're gonna loaf around where they feel safe at. They're gonna eat, in the early morning, in the late afternoon. They may eat in the middle of the day as well. They get up and move every 3 or 4 hours. Is a natural occurrence for deer. As far as people feeding them, so the negatives are you congregate deer. When you congregate deer, when you congregate anything, you lead to an increase in disease, potential for spread for disease. Not necessarily the CWD. Well, actually, the CWD we talked about is a big deal when you bait. But outside of that, there's other diseases that allow them that natural congregation. It's just not when you poop and pee on in your bait site and then you in turn eat that, it's not good. You know what I'm saying? You start thinking about that. We don't do that. But yet we pour corn out and the deer browse around on it. And realistically, when you look at a deer's diet, they eat about 4 to 5 pounds of browse a day. When you look at what that is, if you could take a big, like a garbage bag like this size and stuff it full of leaves, that's what they have to eat a day. So when they come and eat your corn pile, they're only getting one small little corner of their food that they actually need, when this is actually what they need. So realistically, if you want to help the deer, then you would manage your habitat to have better quality habitat, better quality plants for your deer. But if you can't manage your deer, then you need to remove some deer so your deer have access to better quality food.
Is it normal for them to bed down in their yard, like during the day too, like?
Or when they're not scared of you, which is what we got here. And like, you wouldn't find that in the woods. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yes, sir, in the back.
John, a little history on, about 10 years ago, we had the 2 bone hunters come in. They didn't charge us. Their fee was the carcasses that they killed. We culled about 5 to 6. That was all. We ran out of time. They started late in the season. They had to stop in February. I think the hunting season opened February, March.
The regular hunting season ends January 1, but this season allows you to go into February. Yes, sir.
So we ran out of time, and so we started too late in the year, and then they had to stop because of the law. They got about 6 or 8, and they took the carcass away. We didn't pay them. Their fee was the carcass, the deer that they killed, and it was boa.
Yes, sir.
That's what happened.
Yes.
How unhealthy corn might be compared to natural browse.
Do you want me? Oh, I mean, that's like me eating cotton candy all the time. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I really like sour candy. Let me put it that way. That'd be like me eating nothing but sour candy. Am I gonna get my 2,000 calories? You daggum right. Is it gonna be the best 2,000 calories? Probably not. Probably not. Yes, ma'am.
Fox in our yard that had an age,
Mm-hmm.
and the deer get it from the fox.
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard. But there'd have to be some pretty close skin to skin interactions there, and I can't see that occur.
In 3 feet of this box, and they look at it and they try to figure out what's going on with this box. Hasn't touched it yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that. That fox, when it gets colder, he's gonna either get rid of that mange or he's gonna succumb to it, one or the other. So that, he's gonna have an outcome and Mother Nature's gonna take its course. Yes, sir.
So, based off of what you have here, let's say there's 150 deer in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
So what's the impact of the other wildlife in the area? If that's the case, the impact of the other birds?
I mean, anything that browses is in hard shape right now, but there's not a lot of things that compete with deer in that aspect. Really, it's the other deer in your neighborhood. If you were to look at body weights of your deer in comparison, probably to like Horton Plantation, what the body weights are there on a managed piece of property where they manage for wildlife, yeah, probably significantly lower, 10 to 15 pounds per adult female. I mean, that fawn that walked by was tiny just then. I would anticipate that fawn being just 2 or 3 weeks old, which tells me that doe got bred probably a month or two past her first cycle when she came in. That tells me that you have a lot of females out on the landscape and there's not enough males to breed them all the first time they come in. So that spreads out the fawning process. And then if you had predators on the landscapes, like we had coyotes, they would have more opportunity to eat those fawns. And in turn, that will limit the deer population. But we don't have those natural predators. You don't, we don't want to talk about coyotes in your neighborhood. Again, that's the unavailable. Right. So,
I like your pet dog.
yeah, go ahead, excuse me. The albino deer, do y'all have a white deer in your neighborhood, a piebald? Piebald, so that's just a genetic abnormality. Oftentimes you see it in high deer density areas. It doesn't mean that it's sick or it's got anything necessarily wrong with it. Now it may have some other issues that you can't tell, like its bottom jaw may be, it may have an underbite or an overbite, legs may be a little stunted, its feet may be a little different in how it walks. That's often caused because of overpopulation. So you see that in not high deer density areas. It's just a genetic mutation there. It's just like when you got you have a dog breed another dog, and you have to have a crazy one every once in a while. It's just the way it works. That's not the right explanation. We got this square, there's these genetic squares, you draw a big P and a little P and a big P and a little P. And when you got the 2 little P's, something like that happens and you had 2 little P's for that color. Go back to college. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Is it normal for them to get used to, I mean, I don't have what I call high-end plants in my house, but like I've had, my palm type plants eaten that have thorns on them that are huge, and a deer have eaten my palm.
Yeah.
But my question is it normal for them to eat plants that you sprayed with a deer spray? You don't, they do it.
Yeah.
They get used to that is what I'm asking, because.
Oh, I mean, it washes off, you spray,
Wash off.
yeah,
They just
I
don't-
would say, I think of it like this. So you're standing around in your pantry and, you eat your favorite foods first. Like you go to the grocery store and you got a stock pantry, like, man, this is my favorite chip. I'm going to eat that one first. And I like these cookies. You get to like 10 days in, you're like, dang, but we're getting pretty slack and here what we eat. I'm up here eating the granola now, reading this stuff, okay? We get to 12, 14 days, and you're like, man, we're eating raisins now. Then we going back to the grocery store, mama. That deer is standing there doing the same thing, so he ate all the good stuff first, and he's standing there and it's like, man, this is what we got left. My choices. Well, I guess I'm gonna try this thing that hurts my mouth.
A lot of plants that I've noted now that they're, for the most part, leaving alone, but now they're starting to eat those ones that they've left alone for a long time. That are, they're supposed to be, and I spray them and they're eating them when it's not, no rain has occurred. That the spray's on them, they're still eating them, and they thorns on them.
There's only so much it's only so much in the cabinet. Like you're gonna eat what's there.
That's what I figured.
And that's part of just,
Yeah, the little ones will.
Right.
that's part of just not enough on the landscape. So they're looking for whatever high quality, whatever succulent, whatever is tender right now. Yeah, it's a pretty hard time of the year for deer. I'm gonna be honest right now. So as a mama, you got a lot of milk it takes a lot to produce milk. We got a drought, so everything you're eating, unless it's being irrigated, is lower quality than it naturally would be. It tastes worse. She gets less nutrition from it, and it costs her more to digest it because it's drier. So she's got to consume more water. It takes more for her body to make that function than it would be if it had been, we'd had a couple hurricanes by now, and everything's like, tons of mosquitoes and yellow flies everywhere, which we don't have. Right? Yes, sir.
Question, I'm from the female area. There was a gentleman there that I think is either we never saw it.
I mean, you can haze deer. You can do lots of things that are not lethal to encourage deer to not be in your yard. Lasers, I'm gonna tell you right now, deer, you get shine in the eye with a laser and you don't want to be there. We use that on birds. It, like, you can buy those motion censored water spigots to turn on. I don't want to get sprayed with water. You can, there's other options you can do if you really want to go that route. But that's if you wanted to protect your individual yard. That wouldn't work probably across your neighborhood. Y'all kind of let it get, it's kind of went too far.
This is well,
Yeah.
200 acre, the dogs constantly running, they're chasing.
Everybody like that barking? Some people have a problem with that. I bet some, and I would love to, but I bet some people didn't enjoy that.
Deer, you just go, okay.
No. I mean, if you're getting chased by something, that's a natural predator for them, because they logically having a cane to chase them. So they want to run away from that. They come around and come right back when the pressure is relieved. Yes, ma'am, I'll get you next, okay? Yes, ma'am.
So we're talking about right here, right now, with the lives, the development we have, right? In the future, every time a lot is cleared, it's less habitat for the deer, which is only going to probably make it worse and worse and worse. So in your opinion, would it make sense to eradicate some of the deer now? Or would it make more sense to wait till it probably gets worse? Like,
So you just heard what you said. That's like, man, I got this bad bruise on my arm. I'm gonna wait till my arm falls off, or I'm gonna go to the doctor. I'm probably gonna go get it looked at, right?
because there will be a lot of people opposed to doing
There's
it.
gonna be people opposed to doing anything regardless. I can tell you, it's either you're either gonna do something or it's gonna take care of itself. So it's either gonna get to the point where you have so many deer in your neighborhood that you're having car accidents more. You're gonna find deer starving. You're not gonna be able to have any kind of vegetation whatsoever. And everyone, even those who love the deer, are gonna be screaming for somebody to come and remove the deer. That's what's gonna eventually come. So you're at right now, like I said, you're at that point where, let's go to this one. Yeah, like you're not up here where you got your down. You're above this point where there's lots of people in this room right here that want deer to be removed from your neighborhood. So, yes, ma'am.
So if we go here, people stop eating and deer and please forgive me for using air quotes. So the way the harbor deer population is reduced. Will the deer from Tanglewood or the meeting point or Breaker Club come in because there's less deer in West Harbor? Change for their trying to.
I think, if you maintain high quality food sources available, they will come in and fill that niche landscape. But high quality food sources you still putting bait out, because I'm hearing people put food out, you're putting bait out. You're attracting them to your yard. Let's just be honest here. You want to look at it, you think you're helping them, you're really not. Unfortunately, but that's my view. And science says we're pretty close on that, so. But yes, there will be deer coming to your neighborhood if you remove deer. There'll be deer every year, just like there has been. Yes, ma'am.
Go back to it, not knowing with actual population. You mentioned that there were services that could be brought in to evaluate that and give us actual facts of who there are.
Yep, sure.
You got a resource for that?
It would probably be the same people who are gonna want you to hire them for option number 2. Yeah.
Another question, as the neighborhood develops, obviously we're clearing lots. Do the deer ever leave because of lack of food, or do they just stay?
Well, there is definitely some dispersion, but not typically by adults. It's mamas forcing their young to disperse. And they're only gonna disperse so far. So, yes.
We talked about how many deers, like a normal amount for a neighborhood, how many fawns is it normal to have in a neighborhood approximately this size? And we're seeing so many fawns too. And
Yeah.
so there are a certain amount of
What you're seeing is you're seeing moms who are in great shape. So adult females who are in great shape and are being successful at having babies because there's not a lot of predation and they're in healthy shape. This year we haven't had, I mean, really any weather to speak of, so there hasn't been any death in that sense. As far as what you would naturally see in a neighborhood, we don't manage, like as a biologist, I cover 9 counties. I think I work on like big picture kind of stuff and offer assistance on this kind of thing. So I can't tell you what would be normal in a community because there is no normal in a community. It's what you can tolerate and what you're willing to have in your community. It just says y'all, you're in good shape. You got a bunch of fawns. That also means there's going to be a whole bunch of more mouths to feed you come fall and come next spring. And they won't have babies next year. These that are little right now, they won't be having their babies, but in 2 years, you'll have a real flush.
It's not going to be able to have to do this like every year or every year.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of them just do that.
Just one time?
One time.
Yeah. One time would probably be option number 2, where you come in and you drastically remove a significant portion of the deer herd. Option number 4 that my agency offers is management. We're not helping you eradicate your deer. We're helping you learn to coexist and remove the problem pesky ones. Because I'm gonna tell you what this program actually helps with is if you got a couple deer that, man, they just love to eat your plants, and you got a couple of those that just wear you out, this allows you to solve that problem. I'm gonna be honest, it allows you to, if I eliminate her, she's not here eating my plants, and the other ones don't come here, so I don't have to worry about her no more. Did I kill all of them in the neighborhood? No. Did I eliminate my one problem? Yes. If I didn't like them in my yard, could I let them hunt my yard? Sure. It would discourage them from coming in your yard real quick. I can promise you that.
So, yeah, but you're not gonna get total eradication here. We're not encapsulated by fences all the way around. We have berms that they can climb over.
Oh, yeah,
I think to stop it through here. You're to stop outsiders. They're sneaking in here, they bite in through behind something that doesn't belong here. But as long as they can pass that will, no matter what you do here, there's still gonna be more coming here.
Yeah, I'll tell you, something we didn't really talk about, and I wish I had a bigger map. Just kind of talk about individual figures that really situate y'all. You got the Intercoastal Waterway, the 870-year Nelson Cross. You got the Charlotte River, that big giant marsh, that almost 70-year Nelson Cross. So you're down here at the end of a point. And that's like the point of your finger. So when I squeeze the blood down here at the tip, unless I let that pressure off, there's gonna be a whole bunch of blood down there, right? And that's what we got. So you got a whole bunch of animals that congregated down here because you have high quality food sources. You have no predation. There's nothing hurt them. Nobody's being mean to them. So why wouldn't they stay here? I understand what you're saying. Again, I'll make sure everybody knows. This is not going to solve your problem. You're still going to have deer in your neighborhood. You're still going to have deer in your community. It's going to help you just see a few less. Maybe they'll run away more when they see you walk outside. Maybe they won't eat your berry bush so quickly. I can't tell you what's going to come from it. It all depends on how far you want to go and how far certain people are willing to go.
Is there a state or county law ordinance? As far as the associated, I understand, we can't allow hunting or this close on association property. But as far as like our covenants say nothing, they don't. It doesn't allow us to dictate anything on private property.
Yep.
So as hunting.
So
So would that be an individual? Because I think that's what they did years ago. It was the board at that point allowed this guy to come in and do it on association property because that's all we could dictate.
yeah,
And then individual homeowners, if they decided they
yes,
to allow.
yes. So it could be essentially what I would suggest is taking that model And then if you wanted to allow hunting on your property, you know, the board has an open period where you can say, you reach out to them and say, yes, I want to allow hunting. We had a neighborhood do the opposite, where you had to reach out and say you did not want hunting on your property. Because if you didn't say anything, then they were gonna allow hunting on your property. That was another avenue they took, because they had a lot of vacant lots and a lot of out-of-town homeowners who didn't respond to mail. So they went that route. If you have a lot of developed lots and, you know, everyone lives here, then you may want to do the people who want to buy in, you know, who are willing to allow folks access to their tracks. You know, it's what you want, what the community is willing to do.
Yeah, that's what we did last time, was a survey. And you said, yes, on your property or no. And then that was the limitation of where they can hunt.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I would take something like this and make a map to give and have it posted for the community to see if everyone was okay with it. So that way they knew, you know, hey, we don't want to come here. So, yes, ma'am.
Program for Chief, and they call their.
Oh, River Sea has been in community B map before. Yes, ma'am. Some communities have had great success with this. This is not something that's new. This program is used across the white-tailed deer range. I mean, our agency didn't come up, like, we didn't reinvent the wheel here, coming up with like community shoot deer. We're just trying to make it happen, facilitate it. Yes, sir.
I would imagine in North Carolina hunting regulations, there's something that indicates a minimum distance you have to be away from a dwelling. Is that true?
With a firearm, yes, sir.
Yes.
With a bow.
The program you're suggesting, is that rule eliminated or is that still true?
With the community program where we give you tags,
Right.
that rule is still very much in effect unless you have permission from that landowner. Now, if I was at like the cul-de-sac at the end of the road, you know, or a big vacant lot, you could kind of get by with it. But archery equipment, there is no regulation on it. As far as option number 2, the depredation permit, that we essentially write you a permit allows you to break the law, and that's when the law's been laid for it.
The option course sounds like it's a fair amount of management for the owners association to coordinate, you know, what nights and screening or approving who can come and hunt. How would neighborhoods handle that?
It's up to you how much you want to coordinate. And to be quite honest, if you want to turn it over to the Bow Hunters Association and you trust those 2 people and you say these are their trucks, then what other coordination there is there? Once you get signed, once the initial setup happens, like this is where you can hunt at, or you can be a lot more hands-on, like you were describing, and letting the community know every time someone comes out and coordinating every time they're here, then that does require a lot more babysitting and a lot more hand-holding. It's really what you want to do. I can tell you, I'm a hunter, I go on people's property, and oftentimes, once you get to know them, they say, John Henry, you know, you don't even have to let me know you're coming. Just come on and I'll see your truck out here, or just come on and I'll see you on the camera and it's all good.
People are, you want to see afternoon or Saturday night in the neighborhood.
Well, it could be kind of a standard thing you set up, you know, on Monday evenings, the guys are gonna be maybe down there hunting. And it's every Monday evening from then on out. I mean, I think there's a lot of fears right now because it's unknown. But I think you'd really quickly realize that these guys don't want to be visible. If I was in this situation, I would want to be a ninja. Like, I would want you to not even know I was here. I'd want to shoot my deer, not leave any trace. God forbid it like ran in somebody's yard and died. That'd be the worst thing ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't want you to see it die. I'd be trying to be as quiet and inconspicuous as possible because I'd want to be able to keep coming back. Because otherwise you're going to tell me that, hey, you can't come, right?
That's involved for
Mhm.
years. And they're successful. They're successful in the fun. And if you're discreet on how you remove the carcasses of the large tree, you're gonna have that big problem, somebody else will fall over the times.
That,
So I don't want everybody to be, but it's a successful way to do it. And if you manage it. And these funders, it should be managed within the community.
what'd you say, sir?
Are these funders funded?
That's not, I have no clue. That'd be between you and them to make that decision if you wanted. So I will tell you, on some hunt club, on a piece of property that I'm involved in, we have to have insurance on our club. So we have like $1 million insurance policy that if anybody is hurt on that man's property while we're out there doing those things, you know, he's covered. And it makes everybody feel good because we run tractors, we do a bunch of other stuff out there. But there are, you could require them to buy hunter's insurance that's offered.
DMAT program would be there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, option 4 would be normal, would be like essentially normal hunting. You'd just be in your neighborhood. Option 2 would definitely be at night. You wouldn't want that occurring during daylight. Yes, sir.
If we decide to do this culling of the deer, let's say a number of 20. We get to 20, there's gonna be another 20 or 30 gonna drop next year.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a program that should be ongoing annually to maintain a certain level of deer?
If you choose to think about this, if I got a big sliver of cake, if I just take a little tiny sliver off of it, I can eat on that thing for a long time. If I take a big chunk of it, man, it takes a lot of it away. And that's kind of the same thing here. Maybe that's not the right one. Let's think about grass. You mow your grass, you clip it this much, it's gonna grow back, right? If I clip it this much, like down to the dirt, man, it's gonna take a couple of weeks for that thing to sprout back. Let's translate that to years of deer. You kill a bunch of them, or you remove a bunch of them, it's gonna take longer for them to backfill. But they will come back. I can promise you.
So
Within 3 years.
Are you saying it's a better program to have an annual program?
Yes, sir.
All of her.
The majority of the program communities that join this do this on an annual basis. And when they get out of it, they see that the benefit goes away. Like, oh man, we were having less deer and now we got the same number or more than we used to have.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have the same, next year you're gonna have more, and then next year you're gonna have more.
Yeah.
Just to be prepared.
Okay, guys. We'll shut this down.
So what I'll just say before y'all go, if you I'm assuming y'all are gonna have a meeting or there's gonna be conversation about this. As you go forward, if you want guidance and stuff, that's what our agency is there to at least help facilitate this stuff.
So just to let everybody know, obviously, to the people in the neighborhood, we will have like a town hall meeting specifically for this issue. So everybody can get their actual opinion. I mean, he was here just for information on, that we want everybody's opinion. So we'll have meetings, we'll send out surveys, we get the community,
Thanks, everybody, for coming.